Rabbi Manis Friedman. Thank God it's Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday.
Happy
Everything, everything always happens on Tuesday. Tuesday is the most wonderful day of the week, and tonight we're going to have something amazing happen to. Jewish people are going to celebrate something amazing, and of course, this is something that we're going to discuss. And the main question of course, I want to start with is Judaism is hard enough to grasp, but then there is such a concept as Chassidism, which is kind of part of Judaism, I guess. And how can we identify Chassidism? How can we answer a question? What is it, and why so many Jewish people identify themselves as Hasids?
It's a huge title. You have to really qualify to call yourself a chassid. Yes, it means identifying with a certain group, but that's just technical. Chassidus is a deeper insight into the Torah. We've been studying the Torah for 3,300 years. You would think we've already finished the subject, completed it, and there's nothing more to dig out. 200 years ago, we discovered, or we were told, that there's a whole nother dimension we haven't even touched yet. And we have been fascinated by that dimension all these years. And it turns out that in some way, it is easier to relate to the Hasidic approach than to the more ancient traditional approach. It's more relevant, it's more stimulating. It works better for us in America than any other approach.
At this point, somebody will say, well, that means we're changing things around. In other words, we're perfecting or doing something different than the source. And a lot of people might be critical of it.
Yes, there is. It does sound a little heretical, but actually, Torah is alive. It's not static. And as life changes, Torah offers us a deeper insight, not a change, a deepening of the same idea, the same mitzvah, the same Torah, but the deepening actually makes it more relevant. Instead of trying to make adjustments or innovations which are neither true or Jewish or Torah, or as the times change, we simply need to go deeper. Let me give an example. In marriage, there are many dimensions. A couple get married. How long does that take? 7 blessings, you're married. You give a ring, you sign you make a ksuba, you're married. Didn't take very long at all. Now you're going to live the rest of your life married. Well, what are you going to do? You don't get married every day. So it's like you lay the foundation and then you build a building on it. And you can continue building and improving and remodeling the rest of your life. But what are you building on? What are you remodeling on? The foundation. Now, in the physical world, the foundation of a building, of a structure, gets the least attention. Not by the architect, but by the viewers. People walk past a beautiful building, nobody notices the foundation. So only if the building is bombed out and everything above ground is destroyed, Then we realize, hey, look at that. There's a foundation. By then, it's too late. In the spiritual world, in the world of values, the foundation comes first, not last. So, for example, a man says, excuse me, a man says, I'm having an affair. A married man says, I'm having an affair with a married woman. And you say, what? But you're married. He says, I'm married. I'm married. You call that a marriage? We don't see eye to eye on anything. We don't agree on anything. We haven't talked in months. I'm not married. And you say, oh, you mean you're divorced? He says, no, we haven't gotten divorced. I said, well, then you are married. He says, technically, on paper, but it's not a marriage. That's why the marriage is not working. If the marriage itself, independent of whether you communicate, you love each other, you see eye to eye, you don't see eye to eye, just the fact that you're married is a technicality. That's all it is, a technicality. No wonder it's not working. You got to change that. That little technicality is the foundation of everything. You got to put it on top of your list, not at the bottom of your list. And the same thing is with a Jew. I was leaving Minnesota for Pesach, and I asked one of my friends, here's a box of matzah, give it to the guy down the street for his Seder. My friend says, why are you giving him matzah? He's not Jewish. I said, what do you mean he's not Jewish? I know his parents, I know his grandparents, he's Jewish. My friend says, well, technically. He was born to a Jewish mother, so technically he's Jewish, but he's not Jewish. He doesn't do anything Jewish. He doesn't come to the synagogue. He doesn't donate to Israel. You know. So being a Jew is just a technicality? You've got it backwards. So here's how it seems like we're going deeper when we get to the foundation. But really, why is that deeper? It's just the simple truth, the ultimate reality. How you feel about your wife or husband, it changes every 10 minutes. But that you're married, that is so real, so true, so divine. And that's a technicality. See, that's what Chassidus does. Chassidus draws your attention away from things that might be a technicality back to the real thing. So, we're celebrating the anniversary of the Rebbe's becoming Rebbe in 1950. And what did the Rebbe accomplish in his years as a Rebbe? He focused us back on the fact. A Jew is a Jew, and that is awesome. Now build your structure, build your building, redecorate if you want. You can do mitzvahs from any perspective, from any emotion, from any understanding, but all of it is being a Jew. And the same is true with marriage. You can agree, you can disagree, you can argue, you can debate. Fine. Argue for the next 80 years, but never lose sight of the fact that you're married.
Rabbi Friedman, there are few things that that are sort of like similar about what I read about great leaders. The Rebbe was the seventh leader of Chabad, and Moses was the seventh generation from Abraham. So, what makes this number seven so magic? Why is it that the seventh leader is considered to be the leader who redeems, which is what, of course, Chabad and Hasidus believe about the Rebbe?
Oh, I see you've been learning. That is such a scholarly question.
Thank you.
Yeah, there is something special about the seventh. Let's begin with the days of the week. There are 6 days of the week, and then there's the seventh. What happens on the seventh, on Shabbat? All the godliness you were looking for during the 6 days becomes available on the seventh. So the seventh is like a completion of a set. And that's why there are 7 days to the week. It's a complete unit. Usually we think 10 is a complete unit, which is true in another way. But 7 is also the completion of a project. So Avraham was the first to explain God to people. He wasn't the first to believe in God, obviously. Noach was a tzaddik, he believed in God. Adam and Eve were tzaddikim, they talked to God. But who was the first one to explain it in a rational way? Avraham. In other words, Avraham was the first that started the process of bringing God down to earth. And it's kind of like, back in those days, there was human sacrifice. It was considered a noble thing to do. Because what are you doing? You're sending this firstborn or the virgin, you're sending them back to heaven. What could be better than that? Because everyone's goal was to get to heaven. The really privileged, the really worthy ones can get to heaven today. So you kill them and you send them to heaven. Avraham introduced the notion that our goal, our purpose, is not to get to heaven. So stop killing people. And today it's such a relevant message. You're killing yourself so that you can get to heaven? Who says you're supposed to be in heaven? You're supposed to be bringing God down to earth. So we pray every day that God stops taking people to heaven. Stop already. So Avraham was the first. Then there was Yitzchak, and then there was Yaakov. Right? When it came to Moshe, what happened? God literally came down to Mount Sinai. The project was completed. Not only that, Moshe built the Mishkan, the traveling portable temple, a place for God to be present on earth. A physical location where God is easier to see or hear or reach, touch. So the seventh, Moshe, completed the project. Since then, every seventh generation with something special. The sixth, not so wonderful. The seventh was always. So we go in cycles of weeks, even historically. 6 good years, 6 difficult years, then a good year. So what Avraham did, and that was completed by Moshe, That was the Torah on the surface. Now, 2,000 years of exile later, we needed to do the same thing on the internal landscape. So, the first Chabad Rebbe in Lubavitch, or Lubavitchi, however you pronounce it, started the process, like Avraham, of internalizing everything we learn, everything we do, everything we know about God, and 7 generations later, it is complete. The world now knows on a much deeper level what it means to follow the Torah, who God really is and what he really wants, and what our role as Jews, on a deeper level, what it really is. So, quick example. We always knew that our contribution, the Jewish people, made a difference in the world because we introduced monotheism, the belief in one God. Yeah, well, that was about 3,000 years ago. That was just the surface contribution. Now, as a result of Hasidic insight, we realize that we have a deeper, more urgent even, contribution. And that is, now that you know there is one God, how do you relate to him? It's good to believe in one God and not believe in idols. But that's just like engagement. Now, how do you get married? How do you take it to the next level? And that's what we're doing today.
Rabbi Friedman, how come it was so hard for Moses and for Rabbi to become leaders? Both of them were very adamant about saying that they're not ready, they don't want to. They had very many excuses not to. It took Rabbi a year to become the leader of our generation, and I don't know how long it took to convince Moses, how time-wise, but it took a lot. And he was speaking directly to God. So how come they're not so adamant about becoming the leaders as they were meant to be right away?
It seems like they had the same nature of genuine humility. But we see it in the people also. Like what happened in 40 years in the desert? The Jews kept complaining and kvetching, and what are we going to do? We're all going to die. We're all going to starve. We're all going to... Didn't you see? And Moshe kept saying to them, don't you see the miracles? It was only a few years ago God took you out of Egypt and you saw 10 plagues and you saw the splitting of the sea. What is wrong with you? Actually, it's a compliment. The Jewish people have an inborn humility and a desire for absolute truth. Yes, God took us out of Egypt, miracle on top of miracle. So what? You think he's going to do it again? How many miracles do we deserve? So instead of becoming arrogant as a result of the miracles of the past, they make us feel less worthy. And if I was worthy, if I had accomplished something good in my life, I've been paid already with the previous miracles. So why would I assume that there are going to be more miracles? That's a little arrogant. So in this incredible humility that the Jewish people have, sometimes you can actually call it an inferiority complex when it goes over the line, crosses the red line. But really, it's this incredible humility, like, okay, so you paid us already. We've already been rewarded for every good we did. How can we expect more miracles? That's what the people and Moshe were constantly arguing about. There's no water. We're all going to die. Why? God did all those miracles to bring you here, and now he's just going to let you die from thirst? Well, why not? What? We deserve more miracles? See, that's an incredible... And the people get it from the leaders. Because Moshe was so essentially humble and could not believe that he is worthy of this role, of this achievement even. That trickles down to all the people of his generation, and they reflected it back to him. Maybe that's why Moshe was so tolerant of their arguments. And he sounds pretty intolerant. He tells God, I can't take this anymore. But in the end, he stayed loyal. He never gave up on them. He never quit on them. He never even went into Israel without them.
Rabbi Friedman, how can we draw a parallel of Moses as a leader in that generation and Rabbi, our leader, and our generation?
Well, the Rebbe also found it incredibly unbelievable that people would want him to be a Rebbe. He was shocked. He was mortified. Like, you have no idea who I am. Why are you expecting me to be a Rebbe? When the Rebbe spoke about Mashiach, he always focused on the fact that it's time. We've gone through all the changes. We accomplished everything we're supposed to accomplish. It's time. He didn't argue that we deserve. Never argued. We've been through so much pain. We've gone so much. Why isn't Mashiach here? Never. Humility dictates that, of course, we haven't done enough. We can never do enough. But it's absolutely certain that Mashiach is coming because time is up. So we don't have to deserve. It's time. And that humility has really affected the people in an interesting way. It's not about our deserving, it's just about the time for Mashiach to come, and the result is we are trying so hard to be deserving. See, that's what humility does. It's a difference between humility and depression. Depression means I'm not worthy and I never will be, so what's the point? Humility means I don't have to be deserving, so I'm going to try to be.
Rabbi Friedman, is there a special way that people celebrate today? Is tonight treated as a holiday, as something? What would be the best way to spend tonight and tomorrow as a day?
You're good. Yeah, so remember the quote, I think they attribute it to Mark Twain, the two most significant days in your life, the day you're born and the day you find out why. And what for. This anniversary is a very significant one for all of us, because this is when we found out the why and the what for. So it is the second most significant day in our lives. Second meaning higher. The first is just the introduction. The day you're born, that gives you a lot of potential. But when do you actually accomplish or achieve? The day you find out why. The Rebbe basically gave us the why and the what for. He inspired us to live up to the what for of our existence, what we're born for. And what we're born for is to make this world a better place. He changed the world. What should have happened and what would have happened without the Rebbe, after the Holocaust, we would have all gone into survival mode. Let's just survive. Let's just celebrate the fact that we're alive because, without God, we could have been victims too. So let's just celebrate the fact that we're alive. Let's get comfortable. Let's relax a little bit. Take a little vacation from all the pain and the suffering and the darkness and the evil. And we would have amounted to very, very little. The Rebbe said, never mind survival. It's why we survived. For what did we survive? Let's go for it. So he took people who should have been depressed and barely alive and turned us into the most vibrant, most productive, most inspired generation in a long time. Literally, very long time. No one can remember the last time Judaism was so outgoing, so forward-looking, so universal. Maybe under King Solomon, a little bit under Mordechai and Esther, but not since then. So we are a privileged generation. Can you imagine us saying that? We barely survived the Holocaust and we are a privileged generation, not a pathetic one? That's what the Rebbe did.
That's pretty amazing, especially for those who were leaving Russia about 40 years ago because they would not be accepted into universities due to the bare fact that they're Jewish, and that's it. No other reason, not intellect, not inability, just who you are. And nothing like that exists right now, which is very, very amazing and very, very exciting. And thank you for pointing it out, that it is due to the leader of our generation, due to the Rabbi, and he is an inspiration for all of us. Rabbi Friedman, what should each one of us do today to commemorate this day? What should we each do personally?
Well, I'll tell you what the Rebbe's shluchim are doing. This is the 120th year of the Rebbe's birth. He was born in 1902. This is 2022. So it's 120 years. So shluchim are looking to start 120 new projects. 120 new centers, new libraries, new social services, whatever the community where they live needs and can benefit from. That's the official, formal representatives of the Rebbe. But everybody should be doing this. To do something that's somehow related to 120. Give tzedakah in 120 dollars, hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars. Start something new, because 120 is not the limit, it's the minimum. So if you can start a little project, start a little class, a book club, reading the Rebbe's book or the book about the Rebbe. Bring some more constructive, uplifting, inspiring activities into your life, into your neighborhood, into your family. So take some time to study a little Torah, to teach a little Torah, to make somebody else's life a little more livable. And again, it doesn't have to be dramatic and make the headlines and the papers. In a sense, we've already done all that. All the big stuff, the dramatic, amazing, miraculous, we've had so much of that that really what's left to do are just little details. So the little mitzvah now is all it takes. I mean, not that there are little mitzvahs, but the mitzvah that goes unnoticed, the mitzvah that is not dramatic or doesn't feel cosmic. It's simple, it's fundamental, and it's all we need now to tilt the scales in favor of a better world, a more noble world, a more elegant world, a world in which God can feel comfortable.
Rabbi Friedman, must everything be physical, like tzedakah, like, creating something? What about something internal? Is there anything that a person can do internal, or is it less valuable?
Boy, did you prepare for this session? All the right questions. Wow. The internal is as important. It just can't remain internal. It has to find expression on the outside. But more optimism, that's internal. More pride, Jewish pride. Not personal pride, proud to be a Jew, national pride, historic pride. These are fantastically important things. So optimism, Jewish pride, peace of mind that comes from the confidence that everything is going well, God is running the world, things are getting better day after day. These are all internal processes that lead to good behavior. But I think today, in view of everything that's happening, the most important internal orientation, if you want to call it, is watch the world getting better. Notice the positive. Don't be distracted by the negative news, by the fake news, by the discouraging news. None of that should be taken seriously. The good news that you only see yourself, you don't read about in the papers, that's the truth. That's where the world is going, and that is very encouraging and inspiring. And someday, miraculously, all that good news will show up in the news. And then you'll know Mashiach is here.
Rabbi Friedman, the good news is that actually last week we are getting some good news in the news. So it's there. It's slowly coming up. So may we just hear more of it. That would be amazing. Rabbi Friedman,
what are you referring to?
Well, the news has started to. They're saying in the news that Omicron is the last stage of COVID, that it's light. There are no fatalities practically due to it, and that's pretty much that COVID is trickling down. I liked Pope's speech last week when he said that it's selfish to have animals. You need to have children. So Pope was encouraging family values as far as procreation. So that was kind of nice. So these kind of things that we haven't heard in a while are starting to appear. And I believe this is just the start. I'm sure there is more. I can't just think of everything. I do about 2 hours of news a day. Then I try to counter it with 4 hours of Torah because otherwise you go insane. So, so 2 for 1. But it's good. I think, and it's amazing. You're always at least a week ahead of the game because you told us last week that this is exactly what's going to start to happen. And it did start to happen this week. So may we just get more of it. And the world is getting better. Thank you for pointing that out to us loudly and clearly. And Rabbi Friedman, thank you for this time that you give us every week. It's amazing. It's inspirational. It's just, so much light, and it's I can't express how valuable it is to all of us. So thank you so much, and happy holiday, happy Yud Shvat.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This was a very good program.
Thanks to you.
Episode.
Thank you.
Program is always good. This was a great episode.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Friedman, and more good news, and looking very much forward to more good news with you next week. Thank you. All the best.